Morning, friends. Anthony coming to you from Floriology again. What we're doing this week is we're working on the upcoming NAPCO catalog. We're doing some designs on the tips and tricks for the add-ins for the catalog. Gives you some ideas on some designs to purchase containers or some novelty items to show you how you can actually utilize them in your everyday work. What I'm working with right now is a great garland, the Ho Garland. Great fun looking product. Tried to think of what could I do to really make the ho-ho stand out. So what we're going to do is we're going to deconstruct them. So I've already done so, and here's what I've worked with so far. So I've taken, of course, our hyacinth stakes, cut them into small pieces, and these blocks are foam blocks, so I've actually put them together to create the little ho-ho. So we're going to stack these into the design and give a nice little look to it. So I'm going to start the design off in a couple different ways. Again, one of the products that you can work with, you want to make sure that you don't get this water onto these items. So you can work with the foam block like this, or you can wrap up a foam block in paper. This is a decorative holiday paper. A lot of times they're pretty waterproof. This one here it's a really thick paper. So I've just wrapped a piece of the foam because it's also going to be a great decorative element. I've inserted hyacinth stake into the bottom so it'll swell very well once I put it into there. So I'm just going to start the design for us here. I want to make sure I have a little bit of levels working with. I also have a larger block here. So on this piece here, we'll start this way. We'll cut us a piece and we'll insert through the bottom. This paper is a little bit thicker paper, so just make us a nice little hole. And I'm putting it right into the foam. My other smaller block I'm going to put off to the side here because I'm going to take the ho-ho blocks, the blocks that I made together, and I'm going to insert those into there. I want to get a level so that way you can see that ho-ho-ho look to it. So again, make us a simple little hole. Building these in advance is really easy. It takes a couple minutes. So you can buy these garlands. They're fun to work on wreaths. They're fun to work on garlands themselves. But you can cut them apart, use the blocks individually. I like that a little bit because it makes me feel like I get a whole lot more out of it. And then my last set, I have two right here. So I'm going to leave those together. Or separately, so I'm not going to put those together. And we're going to put individual little stakes in the bottom of them. Make my little holes here into the foam. So here's where we're at so far. We have a great little build of the blocks. I think it's fun so far. So now let's make the actual design. So like I've done before, I want to start off with a little bit of my evergreens. So I'm putting my evergreens in. I want to also keep in mind, as I'm creating this design, I'm going to give some height to the design, so this way the little blocks are the feature into it. So I just did a little base into it, and I want to come back in with my taller product. Love working with Bells of Ireland. Remember, as always, working with Bells of Ireland, they're going to move towards the light. So you want to make sure that when you put them in vertical, nice and straight, because they're still going to grow towards the light, and they'll be nice and strong line for you. Get those in there really nice. Love the contrast of green against this bright red. Okay, one more. We're only using 5 in this here. Nice big grouping of them, again, strong impact. I don't particularly like the leaves at the top, personal preference, so I'm going to get rid of those. To me, it just looks a little bit cleaner without them. Nothing wrong with them on there either. Some designs I don't mind having them on, but in this particular one here, I want to get them off of there. So I've already pre-cut some roses and some carnations, as well as a couple more lily blooms. Again, these are beautiful big lilies. They take up a lot of space, very strong impact, very expensive appeal to them. When you're using one stem, I have 2 full blooms, one partly open, as well as some buds. Love working with the buds. Like I said before, gives us a great look of texture here. So I'm going to come back in with my lilies. Just going to encompass one of these blocks here. Be sure you do not cover up the ho-ho. You want to make sure that you see each one of those together. Now remember, if you're working with a bud that's partly open, it's eventually going to open, probably in another day, depends on the environment. When you place it into design, remember it's going to open to a certain look, so you want to give it enough room to open up, not to cover up another product. So now I have based it out with that. I'm going to come back in again. I'm going to use me a little bit of the pine. Pine's just going to give it that soft, airy look. Pine's really good for coverage. It covers up a lot of the mechanics. It'll help cover up the foam. It's a good, it covers up a lot of surface space, so I like that product that way. Okay. Again, I got a mixture of greens, juniper. Love working with the juniper. So there's a couple little spots between the 2 blocks that I've built from. So I'm going to take my juniper because I want the berries to be part of the design. And I'm going to incorporate those into those little spots. Again, they're going to cover up the mechanics. They're going to cover up the foam really well. And they're also going to be a really great texture into the design. Clustering the juniper gives, again, a nice strong look to it. That blue-gray into the berry is a lot of fun. I'm bringing it all the way around, so that way it goes through the design. And just a little bit more. When I cut off these pieces, I save them. You never know what you're going to need them for. They're great to glue in on top of things. A lot of this evergreen that lasts a long, long time, and it does pretty well without a lot of water source. Okay. Now I have my pre-cut roses here. I chose some that were a little bit more open, and I've cut them all kind of short, only a couple of inches long. So I want to give them a nice fresh cut. I'm going to work these through the front of the design here. Working with these textures of different red flowers along with the red presents really helps stand out what we're looking for. What we want is the ho-ho to be a big feature here. So get a few of them in here. Again, once I get all my fresh product in, then we're going to go back in and we'll fill up our areas with the greenery. I love using that greenery as part of the design, as part of the elements, not just to green it in. Again, the stems can be a little bit larger on the evergreen, so you want to be sure you have enough room for your floral product too. Some containers, such as this centerpiece, has more of a rounded bowl. The top of it, there's nothing wrong with seeing that part of it. The lip of it is attractive. It's more finished off, so there's nothing wrong with it being exposed a little bit. Actually gives a little additional element of design into it. So, all right. This really isn't taking a whole lot of product, which is a real good look. Again, profitable. When you're using things like a garland, such as the Ho Garland, you get a whole lot for your money. So you get like 3 great clusters into it. Here's where we're coming so far. A lot of fun. Love Ostromeria, Peruvian lilies. Like calling Peruvian lilies, they just sound so much prettier. Great long-lasting product, has a little bit of texture into it. The variation of color. I like this brown red to the white here because it actually will draw out that red into the red roses. So I pulled 5 stems, but I do believe I'm only going to work with 3. I want to use these as a nice mass together because it will give a whole lot more impact. So we'll get those into there. And I'm bringing those all the way around the side. So basically where I have my lily heavy over here, I'm going to mimic that with the Peruvian lilies over on the opposite side. So fun. Now I'm going back in to fill out. I want to use just a little bit more cedar. I like the cedar because it gives that whimsy feeling. It's drapey. It's really, really pretty. To me, cedar just reminds me so much of the holidays. Okay, we're almost there. Now the fun part of evergreen, if you need to cut off some pieces, once you put it in, it kind of goes somewhere you don't want it to. It's easy to cut off, but when you cut it off, you have another great piece to work with. Don't discard these pieces. Again, like I say, put them to the side. Use these to fill in other spaces. You know, evergreens are a really great fill-in product, and it also, once you use it that way, it also gives you a nice look. So it doesn't have to be a huge impact into it, but the minimal part of the greenery does give you a lot of impact. Okay. And I think we just need a little bit more pine in this area. Splitting the pine is good too, because you still have another spot here. With those long needles, covers up where you've cut off there. And we're about there. So now we've got our products into the foam really good. Going to take those pieces that we had before, now I want to camouflage. I'm going to camouflage these presents a little bit. I like that the presents are stacked because it's mimicking these blocks, but like I said before, having these little pieces of juniper here, I'm going to cut them off, but I'm going to glue them. I'm going to use the Oasis floral adhesive because the really good part about this is it holds well. It will help seal it off. So I'm going to just give a little bit here. We're going to put it onto the blocks. Something very, very simple, but it also helps finish it off really well. Okay, just takes a little bit. Almost done. All right, now we're going to come back into the front here just a little bit. I used up those pieces, so I have a little stem here that has a little bit. So let's do the same in the front. Just enough of an accent. All right, I think we're all set. So here's what we've done with the design, taking apart that Ho Garland, creating individual little blocks, building them, stacking them into an arrangement. Gives you great depth, gives you a great look, and it's always that saying of ho, ho, ho. Thanks for joining us. Watch for the next trick.